the concern really with the World Bank controlling this funding is that, for example, some of the funds that they're going to control out of Bali means that they have the ultimate oversight over the way that these funds are directed and developed, and they're really going to be the ones responsible for responding to any challenges to these plans, and for example any potential human rights violations of these plans, which are particularly concerning Indigenous peoples, and they have not a great track record of dealing with these concerns in the past, to put it lightly. And the only way that we really think that they should be dealt with is within the United Nations system, where they can actually be dealt with by countries that are able to bring these up, or by Indigenous peoples organizations which have actual recognition within the United Nations climate change talks. And so the challenge there with the World Bank controlling these things is that it's not a democratic system, and it's very much controlled by the donors who give the money, principally. Among them is the United States, but also a lot of the European Union countries. And so when you recognize that the threat that these are the very countries that are having a lot of human rights violations already, principally like the United States against indigenous populations and their corporations around the world, they're not going to be the ones principally interested in dealing with some of their very same companies dealing with other human rights violations around the world. And that's been one of the challenges of the United Nations Framework Convention process, has been they've been very reluctant to actually address human rights implications of a lot of their plans. And so really that's what we're talking about when we talk about the threats of the World Bank controlling these funds, as well as the fact that they're basically undemocratic systems, and their whole idea about dealing with climate change solutions is very much based on a market mechanism, which is very much the problem that got us here in the first place. Yeah, I mean, like when the funding goes through the World Bank, yeah, it very much gets directed by the World Bank. So they end up with the ultimate authority over, whose opinion is represented at the table, who gets invited to meetings, who gets to be, the representative stakeholder. And so that is the other threat that, again, because it's not very democratic at all, Indigenous peoples organizations will get very much left out, as they have in the past in the oversight of this. And they will not get access to funding and access to capacity building, access to education, or even access just to the regular information that they should have over what the World Bank is actually planning to do.